have arrived safely at the midway point of the season. It is week 9 of Pickswise Playbook. I am your host, Chris Rose, joined as always by our gambling expert, Jared Smith, and our former NFL offensive lineman, although he missed his chance with the Atlanta Falcons, Ross Tucker. Gentlemen, boy, what a nutty news week it has been in the NFL. Let's start with this, Jared. With so much influx, particularly with quarterbacks going on here, how do you tell people to proceed with caution, or do you?
Well, I think it's all about how much the lines move. And, we'll get into it with this first game right out of the gate with the breaking news that took place, relatively early in the week in terms of betting standards. And I think when you see the lines move significantly in the other direction because of one specific player, it's all about analyzing how much that player really is worth, maybe comparing past moves with quarterbacks, especially as we talk about the Packers and the Chiefs. And I think it's all about, has it moved too much? In some cases, maybe yes. In some cases, maybe no. And that's why our show exists, to tell you yes or no.
Ross?
What a week. Already. And there's several days to go. It's really messing with the lines. It's messing with my head. There's a lot of unknowns about the quarterback. Earlier in the week, I was telling people to take the Packers in a teaser, and then the line changed by 7 points after the Aaron Rodgers news. But they did sign Blake Bortles, the practice squad. So I'm expecting the line to go 12 to 15 points the other way.
Once again, we are here to make your Thursdays, your Sundays, your Mondays more entertaining. We're going to break down tonight's game between the Jets and the Colts. We'll get you all caught up on the Sunday night game between the Bears and the Steelers, or that's Monday night's game. And then we got the Sunday night game between the Rams playing host to the Derrick Henry-less Titans, and a few other games as well. Don't forget to download the Pickswise app. That way you can get everything you need, not only in the NFL world, but in college football. You've got the NBA and the NHL in full swing. If there's a sporting event out there, Pickswise can help you get pointed in the right direction. Don't forget to like us. And Ross, give us a thumbs up here on our YouTube page. When you click that, it's just a like. It doesn't mean that you're subscribing for a gazillion dollars a month. You're not. It's free. It just means you're getting the information dished out to your mobile device or your computer or wherever you consume the Pickswise product. It's that simple. All right, let's start with the aforementioned Green Bay Packers, who were on a roll. They had won 7 straight after that opening day loss in Jacksonville against the New Orleans Saints. They actually won the Thursday nighter. They were coming off a mini bye after that victory against the Arizona Cardinals. And then the NFL world gets rocked by the news Wednesday morning that Aaron Rodgers, after week 1, he was not saying relaxed. He was saying not vaxxed. And so now they're on the road to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who are struggling. So, Jared, once again, how much did the line move here because of the Rodgers news?
Significant movement. So again, the look-ahead line here was KC was a favorite in this spot by almost 3 points. So the market was still favoring the Chiefs heading into the week. Then we saw what happened on Monday night. Obviously, we saw what happened last week with the Packers, and that kind of changed the market a little bit. Once it reopened, it immediately went to basically a pick'em. Maybe there was one line that was +1, but for the most part, this game was a pick'em before the news broke on Wednesday about Aaron Rodgers. Then immediately reopened. I saw 8.5 at Circa, which is one of the more aggressive shops with reopening lines out in Vegas. And that immediate movement was from 8.5 to 7.5. The rest of the market then kind of, complied with that. And I'm seeing 7.5 pretty much market wide right now. I was able to get 8.5 very quickly during that reopening at FanDuel. So that's what I'm sitting with in my back pocket right now. And you have to ask yourself, is Aaron Rodgers worth over a touchdown, 8 points, maybe even 8.5 points compared to Jordan Love? I think the answer to that question is no. We saw this a few weeks ago with Geno Smith to Russell Wilson. The line moved from Seattle -2.5 against Pittsburgh all the way to +5. Steelers won by a field goal. It threaded the needle there. And I think we're kind of in line for a similar spot here. I think anything over a touchdown with the Packers, that's fair game to me, because I think maybe Jordan Love is worth 6, not 7, not 8 points against the point spread, like the market is kind of indicating right now.
So there's a couple of things I think are really interesting. One is the market movement. The other is where the books put it when they reposted it, because where the books put it is what they think. And then whereas the market goes, and that's kind of how it settles a little bit. And I guess I'm curious, do they think Aaron Rodgers is that good, or do they think Jordan Love isn't? because
We don't know
that's a
anything
lot
about
of
Jordan
movement.
Love.
We don't.
We don't know a thing.
It could be he could perform at a level that's relatively on the same plane. And then
Listen, this guy was a first-round pick last year. He needs to play at least as well as Mike White and Cooper
100%.
Color Rush.
And Trevor Siemian, who won on Sunday.
Yes, exactly.
Well, okay, so you brought up the name Cooper Rush, and that's the only thing I can equate it to. Because with Geno Smith, at least there was a track record.
It's true.
The fan out there, the gambling public is saying, at least I know what Geno Smith is. We've seen Jordan Love in like a preseason game, and that is it. But does the Cooper Rush thing give you more clarity from what he did last Sunday night in Minnesota by throwing for 325 yards in his first NFL start and winning the game, or does it muddy the waters a little bit, Jared?
I think if what we've learned last Sunday was that if a backup quarterback gets a full week of reps, they are capable of performing at a level that is obviously not elite like an Aaron Rodgers or a Dak Prescott. But what Dallas did on Sunday was just kind of row the boat, and they just kind of ran their offense, and Cooper Rush made just enough. He made 1, 2, 3 throws that separated them in that game. And on the other side, you do have to look at what the Chiefs are presenting defensively, which is not much. I thought Daniel Jones played one of his worst games of the year on Monday night, and they still almost won that game. So I don't think that there is as big of a drop-off between the starter and the backup. And I do think the one thing that is comparable to the Geno Smith situation, he had been in Seattle for several seasons. And I know they had an offensive coordinator change, but he knew the system. He knew Russell Wilson. There was a relationship there. There is a relationship between Jordan Love and Rodgers. He was drafted, I think it was 2019? Isn't this his second or his third season?
This is his second. It was 2020.
This is his second full season. So he drafted in 2020. So he had one full season as the backup and another half season in the same system. Full week of reps. I think he's going to be able to at least move the ball. And if Adams and Lazard are back, this is his moment. This is his chance to see, hey, is this going to be a Jordan Love team in 3 or 4 years when Aaron Rodgers does eventually move on? And based on what we saw in the last few weeks, it's hard to say that the backup quarterbacks are going to massively struggle because they certainly haven't so far.
Okay. Ross, go ahead.
I was going to say, I liked the Packers in a teaser earlier in the week when they were getting 1.5. I thought tease them up to 7.5. It's a great teaser leg. You give Aaron Rodgers 7.5 points. He's going to keep it close. But I kind of like the Packers now getting 7 or 7.5 with Jordan Love.
Ooh.
Now, as is usually the case on this show, I am looking right now, and it has the Packers getting 7 at Jared's betting website.com. He got 8.5.
You got to go quick, Ross.
If you can get the 8.5 and with a sip of Jared's magic pixie dust, you should do that. If you can only get 7 right now, I would still consider it if it's 7, certainly 7.5. I think the Packers would be the better side to be on.
I see 7.5 at Caesars right now, so you can still get 7.5 if you want.
Okay.
By the way, in case you're curious, the Packers have not played a game without Aaron Rodgers since the 2017 season. They are 6-11-1 without him since he became the full-time starter in 2008. Okay.
Good nugget. That was all with not LaFleur, though, right?
Well, correct. LaFleur's only been up there 3 years.
Yeah, so tough to compare those previous ones.
So stupid stat, Rose?
No, but just tough to use that in this week's handicap, I believe.
Ross wanted to say it. He's biting his lip.
When in doubt, I lean towards stupid stat, Rose.
I was being nicer than Ross was.
Let's move on to the Battle of Ohio. The Browns, who've got all sorts of drama and issues, is now a last-place team in the AFC North, taking on the Cincinnati Bengals, who we were loving on. And then they go up to Jared's team or former team. Hell, I don't even know if you root for the Jets anymore. And they get whited out up there after leading by double digits with 5 minutes to go. Did you know that teams were 59-0 this year when leading by double digits with 5 minutes to go? And the Jets handed a team the first loss of the year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So you've got one team that's in dysfunction, another team that just suffered a bad loss. Ross, the Bengals are favored by right around a field goal, depending on where you shop. I don't know. What do you got?
Well, what I got is I think the number here is really, really critical, right? So, as we record this, I'm seeing the Bengals laying 2.5. It's a big difference between that and 3 or 3.5. I mean, that can often be the difference. And as we're recording this, we also don't have clarity as it relates to Odell Beckham Jr. and what his situation is. That, you could go one of two ways. The drama with the Odell situation this week is too much for the Browns to overcome, and it's a distraction. They don't play well. Or they rally around it and play well without him because, quite frankly, over the last few years, they played better without him. I mean, they have been, Chris, you watch every Browns fan game. Is it not an accurate statement that they are better without him than they are with him?
It is a factual statement, not an accurate one. It is a factual one.
It's not an opinion. You have samples.
It's not. I mean, they look different. They play better. I'm not saying that this is all on Odell, but no, I can't. I talked to guys that played wide receiver in the NFL. I said, explain it to me. Explain it to me. But now this week is something different. This is different than not targeting Odell. This is different than not getting him involved in the offense. This is his dad has put out a 15-minute tape saying why my son is in the right and why the quarterback sucks. And this is LeBron James getting in and saying free OBJ. And this is the other part of this. It's not just getting rid of Odell Beckham. It's keeping his best friend, Jarvis Landry, who is a big-time leader in that locker room. Ross, you have to take me inside the locker room. If there is indeed a divorce, how does that affect the best friend left behind?
I don't know how they're best friends because to me, they're like polar opposites. I love Jarvis Landry. Maybe their opposites attract. I love Jarvis Landry's toughness, love the way he plays, love what he appears to be as a leader and a teammate. Although both those guys basically boycotted that game against the Steelers with the fumbles and the drops. I mean, if those guys play even okay, the Browns win that game.
Yeah, so but I don't think it's fair to say that Jarvis boycotted it. He played poorly. I think there's a major, major difference. You have seen Odell kind of check out over the years, whether it was in New York or Cleveland. I don't think that's ever been a question with Jarvis Landry. He just played poorly.
Yeah, correct. That's a better way to phrase it. He played poorly. At any rate, at 2.5 right now, I'm laying it with the Bengals because I think they're going to bounce back and play much better than they did against the Jets. I think it's a little bit of a wake-up call, and I think the Browns are reeling.
It's the opposite of last week where it was a letdown spot, and some of the bookmakers even said, I know we teased the Bengals down, and we lost that too. But the one bet I wouldn't have made last week was laying the full 10, 10.5, 11. It closed, upwards of 11.5 with Cincinnati. Whereas this week feels like the exact opposite. I don't think Cincinnati played poorly last week. Let's just I think they gave up they got punched in the mouth early. Then they kind of settled things down in the middle of the game. And the Burrow interception right after the Jets made it a one-score game. I mean, it was just an instant, turnover situation where all of a sudden the Bengals were back on defense and it just didn't go well down the stretch. But I wouldn't call what the Bengals did last week a poor performance, especially on offense. They scored, 30 whatever points. I think in general they just they didn't show the intensity that the Jets showed early in that game, and then it just caught up to them later. I don't think that'll be an issue this week. And I'm really worried about the Browns' offensive line. I'm worried about the Conklin injury. I think overall there are some issues with Cleveland's health. And I'm concerned with the mindset. It won't affect the point spread with the Odell situation, but there's no doubt, we've talked about it with the coaching changes. We talked about it with the Vegas situation with Gruden. There is a mental edge to be had on one side or the other. I would lean that this hurts Cleveland because it's really in the heart of the locker room where the coaching situations are a little more on the peripheral. And I think Cincinnati will play better and they will bring an early intensity to this week. And I do think they will win this game.
Okay. Real quickly, I don't think that the line is going to get down to Cleveland getting 2 points. But just in case it does, there's my Tim Couch jersey.
Yeah. I was wondering where you were going with
that. I was like, what is he doing?
I thought he was leaning and stretching. Maybe his back was sore or something.
Yeah.
That was nice, Chris. That was
smooth.
That was nice.
Like a Collinsworth slide in there.
All right. Vikings and Ravens. A lot of purple in this next game. Vikings at Baltimore. Ravens coming off a bye. And let's remember the last time we saw them, the Bengals handed Lamar his worst loss ever. The Vikings, in the meantime, they're 3-4 against the spread this year. But their 4 losses have come by a combined 15 points. They're getting a decent number of points here, Jared. Doesn't that make the play Minnesota?
I think there's only one way you can play this game. I think this is so. Sometimes there's a game that Ross just like immediately rolls his eyes at. I love the Vikings this week. I know that sounds crazy because of what we saw on Sunday night, but I don't understand how Baltimore can be laying this many points. I do think the Danielle Hunter injury, hurts them, especially trying to defend the running game for the Ravens. But the line action here was very telling. The look ahead was 6. All the bookmakers we talked to this week, 70% tickets or more, all coming in on Baltimore. But we're seeing a little bit of movement towards 5 and not towards 7. And that is, to me, very telling that there's sharp money coming in on the Vikings. Kirk Cousins not in prime time here, so we don't have to worry about that narrative. He has really good weapons. And the Ravens defense has not played well. 24th in DVOA. They're negative in net yards per play. I think the Vikings need this game really, really bad. Because I think they will play a little bit with a little more fire than they did last week, because they definitely were sleepwalking through most of that game. And if you're going to give me 6 with a team that's, I would say, on the same plane as the Ravens right now in terms of their analytics, I'll take 6 points for sure.
I'd probably lean Minnesota here as well, getting the points. I don't envision them playing that poorly again offensively, although you got to give the Cowboys defense a lot of credit, man. Micah Parsons is an absolute monster. We should start talking about him maybe as defensive player of the year, not just rookie defensive player of the year. I mean, he's at least in the conversation. He's been a dominant player in all but one game so far this year. Defensive player of the week in the entire NFL this week. But I would lean Minnesota as well for a lot of the reasons that Jared articulated. Cousins has been pretty darn good this year with the exception of Sunday night. I think he bounces back and plays well. I think this is a good game. I think it's a back-and-forth game. I'll take the 6 points.
Oh, that was really interesting, by the way. You had me want to go look up some Micah Parsons stuff for Defensive Player of the Year bets, but I'm not tech savvy enough.
Who are like the candidates? TJ Watt,
really.
Myles Garrett.
Yeah, Diggs, Myles Garrett. Aaron Donald's always going to be in the discussion because he just is Aaron Donald. And
well, that's why Parsons won't get it, because Diggs has kind of overshadowed him so far, I guess.
The Cowboys are going to win a lot of awards this year. Dak's going to win comeback. Parsons is basically, not a shoo-in, but he's the favorite for sure to win D-Roy.
You know what's amazing, by the way? D-Roy. I've never heard that. I might use that. D-Roy.
D-Roy.
So, you know what's crazy? Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, the Cowboys didn't want either one of those guys. I mean, the Cowboys wanted Paxton Lynch, couldn't trade up to get him. Then the 4th round, they wanted Connor Cook. Raiders took him. They
for Michigan
for
State?
Dak Prescott. Yep. And then this draft, they wanted J.C. Horn or Surtain bad. And when they were both off the board, they traded down and took Parsons. The Cowboys' best picks are when they get guys they didn't want to get.
Or when they don't draft Johnny Manziel. Also, shout out to Penn State, because it's Parsons and Owa are the top 2 guys for D-Roy right now in the odds. Both play the same position, both on different teams, both played at Penn State. I mean, talk about linebacker you.
Shout out to your alma mater, boy.
Linebacker you.
They really gave it a good effort against Ohio State. Those kids keep working. I swear to God, they won't have a 3-loss season at some point in the near future. By the way, Micah Parsons is not a top 5 favorite for Defensive Player of the Year, or as our guy likes to say, Depoy.
Depoy.
That was awesome. Ready for a Super Bowl 38 rematch? Patriots at the Panthers. So the Patriots finally beat a team where they don't have a rookie quarterback. They took it to Justin Herbert. They were the first team to ever hand Herbert 2 losses in his career from the same team. So they figured that one out. Now they got to deal with a Carolina team that kind of got right last week in Atlanta, but now we don't exactly know about Sam Darnold to put in the concussion protocol, so we don't know if it's him or not. Once again, it's another game without a quarterback. Ross, how do we deal with that? Or does it not matter to you?
It does matter. I don't like to bet on games where there's uncertainty at quarterback. I wouldn't recommend it. And because there's also uncertainty with the Panthers' best player, Christian McCaffrey, as well. Mm-hmm. So there's double uncertainty here. But listen, we record the show when we record the show. So based on what I think will happen, which is that Darnold and Christian McCaffrey both play, I would take the Panthers and the points. If they don't play, then don't bet it. It's up to you.
This is an elite team. This is This is an elite. I don't have anything on this game because of the quarterback uncertainty and those things. I might get in on Carolina a little bit later this week. Here's how I would play it from a strategic standpoint. Wait for the news. If Carolina gets their guys back, this line probably goes to 3, maybe 2.5. Low total game, tease up Carolina to 8. And I think that's a safe play. The reason that I'm not backing Carolina straight up is because I have demons inside of me with Sam Darnold and Bill Belichick, and I can't get over them. I just cannot back Sam Darnold when he's going up against Bill Belichick. I don't care what team, what uniform, what situation. That's a personal bias. Obviously, there's a lot of non-Jets fans watching that probably don't have those same feelings. But I just have really bad vibes, really bad juju when it comes to Sam Darnold facing Bill Belichick. So I'm staying away from that. But if it does move to 2.5 and they get all their guys back, low total game, that's a good, textbook teaser spot through 3, through 6, through 7 to 8 or so for Carolina.
Okay, that's pretty good advice from both of you guys. By the way, the Patriots currently the 8th seed in the AFC playoff chase. The Carolina Panthers are in the playoff party as we speak as the number 7 seed, which is, I have no idea how he got there.
Tentative at
By the way,
best,
the news
I
on
would say.
McCaffrey, he is eligible to return. He's got that 21-day period where they can activate him at any point. And so who knows if it's going to happen by Sunday? We'll see. All right, more. Every game we got quarterback issues all over the place. I guess that's what makes it fun, but very, very difficult to kind of sift through the weeds here if you're a gambler. So help us out here. Cardinals and Niners. Kyler Murray did not practice on Wednesday, but Cliff Kingsbury came out and said he does not have to practice this week in order for him to play.
Must be nice.
You weren't one of those guys, Ross?
No.
We're not going to prep the show. We just show up and we just do it. Who cares? Practice. We don't need any of that. Let's just go.
They never said that to me when I was playing.
Tucker, we need extra reps out of you. So the Cardinals coming off their mini bye, not to mention their first loss of the year. Now they're taking on a Niners team, which snapped their 4-game slide. This is a really huge 2 weeks for them. Back-to-back home games against the Cardinals and the Rams. This is going to make them break their season. It's going to make or break their decision on their quarterbacking in the near future, in my opinion. And so this is huge, huge stuff that's on the line for San Francisco. And they don't even know if they're facing Kyler Murray or Colt McCoy. All right, Jared, how do we play this?
Whew. Well, I'll say this. I see similar things in the market to what I saw last week with the Vikings and the Cowboys. And my favorite movie is All the President's Men, Woodward and Bernstein. And the pivotal line was Follow the Money. And the money told us early in the week last week that Dak wasn't going to play. The money's telling us early in the week this week that Kyler Murray is questionable. Because I saw this line open at 2.5, 3, and now it's basically a pick 'em. And I saw one spot even favoring the Niners by a point. So I would be very doubtful at this point that you're going to get a full 100% Kyler Murray if we get Kyler Murray at all. And I think this is a good time to buy low on a Niners team. The narrative has been really negative on them for the last few weeks. They're still I saw plus 166 for San Fran to make the playoffs. You just mentioned Carolina is that final seed right now. I don't trust them at all to continue that. If Jimmy G is healthy and if the Niners win this game this week, they still have games against Atlanta, Jacksonville, Houston coming up. They could sneak into the playoffs as well. But for this specific game, lower total game in the mid-40s, if it's San Francisco up to a +7 spot, if you could still find a +1 or a +1.5 out there with San Francisco in the market and you can get them to a teaser of above a touchdown, that is the ideal way to play it. And I think overall, I could see some improvement with this Niners team. I think last week they showed you they can score a little bit. They need to get better defensively, but I think the numbers are relatively even between these two teams, at least net yards per play wise. DVOA wise, Arizona's better, but they just lost J.J. Watt. I wouldn't play this now that the line's moved to basically a pick 'em, but if you can tease the Niners to a +7 touchdown dog at home, very good teaser spot this week.
Yeah, I mean, this is another tough one. What I'm showing right now, by the way, is the Niners getting 1, so you can absolutely tease them up to +7. And if I did anything for this game, they would be a teaser leg because I do think Jimmy Garoppolo realizes he's playing for his career every week. I mean, he played great against the Bears, and those rushing touchdowns, this is a guy that knows his career depends on every performance every week, which isn't the worst thing for the 49ers, right? You either get Jimmy playing well or you put Trey Lance in.
By the way, speaking of putting Trey Lance in, back when these two teams tangoed in week 5, there was no Jimmy G. He was out injured. We saw Lance's first career start. He was kind of running all over the place. Niners only lost by a touchdown that day against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. So if you want to put that in your back pocket, you certainly may. Anybody interested in more quarterback talk?
It's all that matters.
Well, I've got some with the Texans and the Dolphins. Trade deadline has passed. There was no movement made. Dolphins owner Stephen Ross did have a phone conversation apparently with Deshaun Watson, and then the Dolphins didn't make the deal, and so they had to turn around and tell Tua, "We still love you. For now, no, really, Oh, you're shaking your head, Ross.
No, it's a awkward situation.
It is.
It's a cluster. Let's call it what it is. It's been terribly mismanaged, right? And I suppose now the deal is both these teams won on opening day, and neither team has won since. So they're combined 2-14 at this point. And Tyrod Taylor might come back for Houston. What do we do here? Help me. Somebody who wants first crack at this one? I'll let you guys.
I have nothing on this, Ross. I mean, I feel terrible for Tua, and the fact that they're playing each other the week after the trade deadline is like a sick, twisted form of irony by the NFL schedule makers. This is a double pass for me.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I would just tease the Dolphins down from -6.5 to -0.5 point. I'd be really surprised if they lost the game.
That's a
really
safe
surprised
play.
if they lost the game. So
that's safe.
If anything, and maybe even lay the 6.5. The Dolphins are not a bad team. The Texans are. But again, the Tyrod Taylor uncertainty is what gives me some pause here. If I knew it was Davis Mills, I would certainly lean to Miami laying the 6.5.
That was my strategy last week. Once I found out it was Mills, I did bet the Rams. And I was barely right on the number, but that was a crazy ending that came to.
So what are you saying? You don't want to stick your neck out for Davis Mills?
No.
You got to get over that, man. You have like
I can't.
a complex about that.
I can't.
Neck phobia?
I can't unsee it. I'm sorry. Every time I see them play,
there's a meme every 5 minutes every time the Texans play about it. So
it's just, how can I move on? I can't. It's very, very difficult. I'm talking about Davis Mills with my therapist these days. That's how bad it's got. All right. Well, hey, guys. Another game with quarterback issues. Falcons and
Why
Saints.
are we picking all the games with quarterback issues?
Because
you
every game's got
quarterback issues. Our lesson to the Pickswise people should be to stay away from those games.
Fine.
Sometimes there's market spots to fire and there's advantages. It's our job to find them.
Hey, it's our job to tell people when to stay the hell away and when it's okay to dip your toe in the water.
Okay, stay away if number one, there's starting quarterback uncertainty, or number two, Jared's
you just bet the
giving out his
Dolphins.
fake numbers.
You just bet the Dolphins with the quarterback uncertainty. You don't know who's starting for the other team.
Yeah, but I know Tua is. That's good enough for me.
By the way, if we only talked about games where there was no quarterback issues, we'd be talking about 2 games this week.
The show would take 10 minutes.
All right. So no Jameis. He was playing well, tore his ACL. It's terrible against his old team. Taysom Hill working his way back toward from a concussion. Hasn't played since week 5. Trevor Siemian, who played very well in relief and led the Saints to a victory over the champs and Tom Brady last week, has started 25 games. Now they're playing host to the Atlanta Falcons, who crapped the bed last week. It was all lined up for them. They were back to 3-3. They had a home game against struggling Carolina, and they couldn't figure out how to get Kyle Pitts the ball. And Matt Ryan got his hand stepped on, didn't throw for 150 yards. And all right, anyway, what do we got here? The Saints are favored by almost a touchdown here, Jared. Does that scare you, or are you okay with that defense?
Yeah, I mean, the market moved in their favor. I think the betting market was pretty impressed with what they saw from Simeon on Sunday. The look ahead was 5.5. And, you would think that my initial gut was, oh man, if Winston's out for the year, we're getting a discount on Atlanta at plus 5.5, thinking that it would move in their favor, but it's actually kind of firmed up towards New Orleans. I think Trevor with a full week of reps will be just fine. To me, Mark Ingram coming back changes the dynamic of that offense. A little more heart, a little more, when they're running the ball with Kamara, it doesn't have the same punishing, kind of feel when they're running the ball with Mark Ingram. And you saw that on Sunday. They ran the ball very well against the Bucs team that does not give up a lot of rushing yards. And Atlanta, talk about the opposite approach. Simeon gets pushed into a situation against the Bucs that are a top 10 defense. Now he gets a full week of practice against the crappy Falcons defense, who, again, they got Kyle Pitts the ball in a couple spots. He dropped a big one at the goal line very late in that game. So I just think Atlanta is not a mentally tough team. And this is a great teaser spot. Low total game, 6-point spread, get it to a pick 'em. And you're telling me the only way that I lose is if Matt Ryan and this mentally untough Falcons team roams into the Superdome and beats a top 5 defense in the Saints? I don't care who's playing quarterback on the other side. I think Simeon's fine. I think they have enough weapons to get through this game. I think the Saints win. I wouldn't lay it, but it's a great teaser spot this week.
I have very little on this game. I mean, do we even know it's Simeon and not Taysom Hill? I mean, do we even know that? Look, the Falcons have major issues. With Calvin Ridley out, taking care of his mental health, their only weapon is Kyle Pitts, and the Panthers totally took him away last week, putting Gilmore on him. I wouldn't be surprised if the Saints put Marshawn Lattimore on Kyle Pitts because he basically plays receiver. And then who are these other guys for the Falcons? Like Russell Gage did nothing. Olamide Zaccheaus. I mean, they don't have a lot. So I could only lean New Orleans here.
I'll respond with the Taysom Hill Simeon thing. If I had to guess, Hill probably is the X factor. He'll come in on the goal line. They'll have some packages for him, but it'll be Simeon getting the start. If I had to guess, I don't know that for sure. It's early in the week. But if I'm handicapping this game from that perspective, that's how I'm approaching it. Simeon's the starter, and they designed some, nuances for Hill to kind of get his feet wet.
Well, Sean Payton did say it's trending in the right direction for Taysom Hill to get back. I don't know what the heck trending in the right direction means all the time, but who the heck knows?
Left it open probably because he's not fully ready to be the starter yet.
Ross, you're going to be excited. You know why?
Eagles.
And no quarterback issues for either team.
Yeah,
we know who the starters. It's a pair of second-year guys. Yeah.
Plus, nobody knows the Eagles better than me. I had the Lions getting that 3.5 last week. Clearly, I am on top of the pulse of the birds.
6-1.
What was that
against you, Ross?
What was that?
That was the Lions' true self. That's what it was.
It was the only time they did their true self all year.
Last week against the Bengals, they got blasted.
Yeah, I hate the Lions now, and I'm mad at my former teammate Dan Campbell. I bet on the Lions twice. The only 2 times they laid complete eggs at home. The Bengals and the Eagles game. You know what? Eagles are a good teaser leg here. I'm showing them getting 2 right now, so you can tease them up to 8. I kind of like the Chargers to win the game. I think the Chargers are too talented to lose 3 in a row. I don't have a lot of faith in the Eagles playing that well back-to-back. But the Eagles realize finally that their O-line's pretty good to run the ball, and the Chargers' run defense is terrible. So that's the only thing that gives me some faith in the Birds. I would take the Eagles teaser leg update. I think it's a close game. They could easily win it. I don't see the Eagles losing by 2 scores.
What was it, 2 years ago? Boston Scott went nuts, and he had a 3 or 4 game stretch where he was just the best back on the planet. I could see that continuing. The Chargers can be run on. We saw that firsthand last week, and for pretty much every week this year. I think the reason why I wouldn't tease this, I would tease it, but it's not as strong of a teaser leg as some of the other ones, is because the total is slightly elevated into the 50s. But a lot of reverse line movement here off of Philly +3 look ahead. And that is why I think the Eagles are the sharper side, despite the fact that most of the public right now, early in the week's betting the Chargers. We saw that line move pretty significantly towards Philly. At this point, it looks like it's destined to close right at around a pick 'em. So if you can get over 7 points from 1.5 to 7.5 in a teaser spot with the Eagles at home, I don't mind that. And it looks like the sharper side is Philly. But we've talked about it. They're a very volatile team, tough to bet on. You could see the exact opposite of what we saw last week. And that is what makes them a little bit more of a difficult bet week to week. So no play for me, but the teaser spot certainly is, amongst some of the better teaser spots of the week.
By the way, the Eagles ran for 236 in that win up in Motown last week. Chargers, one of the worst against the run. You guys made that point. All right, Bills, who might arguably be the they're probably the best team in the AFC, I would say. They are certainly number one in the NFL in point differential, plus 120. We don't talk a lot about that. Does that affect your metrics as they take on the Jacksonville Jaguars and lay in right around 2 touchdowns?
I love point differential.
Okay.
I think it's a great stat. I think DVOA and point differential, net yards per play are my top 3 that I look at every week. Point differential doesn't matter as much until right now-ish because, the sample size is big enough. But I don't see how Jacksonville stops Buffalo this week. Tell me how that's going to happen.
By the way, that was it. Can I just throw this in there? It was an embarrassing performance by Jacksonville last week.
Awful.
Off the bye against a team that had been putting up 15 points per game with Geno Smith. And for we could say whatever we want about Urban Meyer making the plane, not making the plane. Coach your team better, bro.
It was Jacksonville's offense. So the Jags, I don't understand how they didn't do anything against Seattle's defense. So they only averaged 4.2 yards per play against Seattle. Going into that game, the Seahawks were giving up almost 6 yards per play. That's a massive gap. And you're right. There's no excuse that was a lifeless performance.
Urban Meyer has probably the worst sideline body language and demeanor I've ever seen from an NFL head coach, especially when it's late in the game and they're getting killed.
This is my favorite.
It's like he doesn't know what to do. It's like he's never been he doesn't have a headset on. Nobody's talking to him. He's not talking to anybody. He's just kind of and then they have 12 guys on the field, back-to-back plays. And he goes, "What happened there?" Okay. I mean, look, I'm not mad at him. I will be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars tomorrow for $10 million a year. I don't care how many games we lose or when you fire me. I will do that tomorrow, and I will have a great sideline demeanor. I will have a great body language, okay?
Will you wear a headset? Will you wear a headset?
I will wear a headset, and I will listen to 80s music, and it will be awesome because 80s music is amazing.
Ross is dancing on the sidelines while his team's getting their asses
Breaking it out to Cyndi Lauper. It's going to be awesome, guys.
Oh my goodness!
Let's hear it for the boy.
Yeah, that's what it's. Yeah, let's hear it for Josh Allen. All right, I'll get us back on track here. So
Yeah.
So the Bills started slow in that game against Miami. They were coming on. I give them a pass. They were coming off the bye. They were facing the Dolphins for the second time in 6 weeks. There tends to be adjustments made, and I'm not surprised that there was a slow start. They finished fast. They front door covered the spread for some numbers, and they outscored Miami 23-8 in that second half. And I thought that was a positive thing because when you start slow and finish fast, it means that the adjustments were made and everything is kind of back on track. So I don't downgrade the Bills for not blowing the doors off of Miami last week. And if you look at the MVP market, this is Josh Allen's week. Dak Prescott didn't play. Kyler Murray, they lost. He might not play this week. Josh Allen's the favorite now, slightly. If he goes bananas against Jacksonville this week and Kyler's out and Dak again is, in and out, this could be the week that we say Josh Allen's the MVP of the NFL this year. And that to me is why I think the spread at 14, lay it. Because this could be the week that Josh Allen says, this is my year to be the MVP. I'm going to feast on a Jaguars defense that is absolutely dreadful. And I could see this being a blowout.
By the way, plus 250, Josh Allen to win MVP. Next in line, Tom Brady, plus 500.
I can only lean Buffalo here. They're really good. The Jags stink. I hate laying that many points, but I wouldn't take the Jags. I took the Jags last week. I'm done taking terrible teams. If you stink, I hate you, and I'm not taking you anymore.
It's going to be tough for you to bet dogs if you don't want to bet terrible teams because that tends to be the plus sign in front of the teams later in the year.
Plus 3.5 from now on, except for Jags and
for the
Lions. Or
Man, somebody's
who else stinks?
There's a lot of rules
Texans,
here. You're really limiting yourself.
Texans.
Oh, yeah,
Texans, no chance.
Odds are Texans won't be getting 3.5 too many times.
And we'll get to the Jets, and we'll get to Thursday night. That's a tease for like 4 minutes from now.
Okay. By the way, I love bitter beer face Ross Tucker. It is so fun. Broncos and Cowboys. Dallas 8-0 against the spread. 7-0 against the spread. They've only played 7 games, right? They're 6-1, right? Okay, yeah, they had the bye. So, am I right? What the hell's their record?
No, you're right. It's 7-0.
They had a bye. You're right.
Yeah, this is week 9. They've played 7 games. They're playing
They're
their
6-1.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So they're 7-0 against the spread.
I appreciate you not throwing Jack Harrison under the bus there, Chris. That was
I would never do that.
By you.
See, unlike Odell's dad, I'm a good teammate.
Yeah.
Now my wife might MF him on Twitter.
No.
For coming up with that, but it won't be me. All right, so 7-0 against the spread. They get a huge win. We thought Dak, he went out, he warmed up, he said he was close, he wanted to play, he didn't play. And I would be surprised if he didn't play, but it might be Cooper Rush's home starting debut this week against the Denver Broncos, who just traded one of their leaders in Von Miller. So, Jared, give me a quick one on this. What do you got?
Yeah, so this line's moved a lot, and I guess it makes sense because Dallas wasn't expected to win on Sunday, and they did. But the market's moved from 7.5 to now 10. That's where the sharp money started to come in on Denver, and I think it probably closes in that dead area of 9.5. The Teddy Bridgewater against the spread as a road underdog trend, I have to mention it. I know the situations were vastly different in previous years, but 2 weeks ago, he almost covered that number. If you got plus 3.5 with Denver at Cleveland very early in the week before the Baker stuff, he did cover that number. And he always overachieves where the number is posted on him. The Noah Fant COVID thing scares me. I don't know if he's vaccinated. If he is, he could still play. If he's not vaccinated, he's not going to play this week. I do like the Broncos offense getting healthier. If Fant is in, Jerry Jeudy's also playing. We've seen Cortland Sutton play really well. Tim Patrick has been a nice addition. And I think at some point there is going to be regression with the Dallas Cowboys. They are not going to go undefeated against the spread. That is why the point spread was designed to prevent those things from happening. I saw Tyron Smith dealing with some bone spurs. That's an important thing to shuffle up that Cowboys offensive line. I'm curious if the Miller thing affects the locker room at all. He didn't play last week. I don't think so. And the nugget here is right now Dallas being 7-0 against the spread. It's looking like they're going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC because the last 3 times that a team has started 7-0 against the spread, they finished with the top seed in their respective conferences. I think they win this week, Dallas, but I think 10 points is too many, and that's where I got in on Denver.
Right now I'm seeing the Cowboys laying 9. I would lay the 9. I think Dak plays. I think the Cowboys are really good. And the Broncos, they can't score. They can't score. And I don't think the Von Miller thing's a huge deal because you hadn't been playing recently anyway, but doesn't send a good message, at least for this week. That's for sure. So I'd probably rather lay the points.
Without Von Miller, they get 0 pressure, by the way. They just don't get enough pressure, not enough push. Let's get to the Sunday night game, which at this time a week ago looked awesome. Where like the Titans are getting it going. Titans had a huge win. They were down 14-0 on the road at Indy, and they came back and they won that one in overtime. Taking on the Rams, a team that's 7-1, playing really good football. Added Von Miller to the mix this week. He is expected to make his debut on Sunday night. But, oh yeah, by the way, there is no Derrick Henry. I ask a trivia question. When was the last time the Titans won a football game without Derrick Henry?
Ooh.
Jared?
He doesn't miss games, right?
He's missed a few.
So, but the Titans have won those games. I don't know. You stumped me.
Just say a year, dude. Just say a year. He wants you to say a year.
I'm out. I abstain from the answer.
2018.
2015. Stop yelling at me.
A year? How about 6 years?
Yeah. So he's only missed 2 games in his career, and they lost both. So
wow.
they have never lost. Yeah.
2015. Who was playing?
They've never won a game.
The Titans
Marcus
won a game
Mariota?
without Derrick Henry's 2015.
Was that Marcus Mariota playing quarterback though? Without
when he was at
Jones and
when he was at Alabama. So I don't know. How does that affect you this week, Ross? After you yell at me.
No. I was yelling at Jared. I was yelling at Jared's like, I don't know.
I was stalling.
He just
I was trying to get
guess,
information. I was trying to get
Chris just wanted you to guess a year. Like you weren't going to get it right.
Yeah, he wanted me to get it wrong. I don't like
2018 like I did. And he goes, no, it's
I don't
actually
want to get things wrong.
It was like a knock joke, dude. You just got to say who's there. You know what I mean? You just got to say a name, say a number.
Who's there? Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry who? Derrick Henry counts this many points against the spread.
I like the Rams as a teaser leg. They're favored by 7.5. Tease them down to 1.5. They're going to win the game. I will say this, though. sometimes when you miss a really good player, you can get like a short-term boost because everybody kind of like rallies around like, oh, we can still do it without him for 1 week or maybe 2. And also the Rams don't really know what the Titans will do offensively without Derrick Henry. Like they're not really sure. A.J. Brown coming off a huge game. That's the only thing that gives me a little bit of pause. But I like the Rams teased down to -1.5.
All right, well, hold on, Jared, before you go here, I want to say this. The reason teams don't know is because now we're going to see what Ryan Tannehill's all about. When on 4th and 2, he has the threat of that monster behind him. He can do this, keep it himself, and run for 13 yards. Now we give Ryan Tannehill a $100 million contract. He's got to play like a $100 million quarterback when he doesn't have Derrick Henry back there. That would scare the bejesus out of me.
And Julio Jones isn't healthy, which scares me even more.
How about this? Call me when he is healthy.
Never. And, that's why I guess that's why Atlanta wasn't, upset about letting him go. And, that's why I think the Jets are happy with Corey Davis, but maybe the Titans would have been happy with him too. But that's all in the past. For this specific game, the line did move about a point, and it moved over 7 when the Henry trade when the Henry injury was announced. And I think the Von Miller trade accelerated that move as well towards the Rams. Everyone we talked to this week said the Rams are better, obviously, with Von Miller on their team. But I do think this specific game, because of the higher total, pushes me away from a teaser. But the logic is sound. The Rams should win this game. You're getting it to under a field goal. But again, I do prefer to tease games that are in the 40s. So that's why I'm personally not teasing it. But I agree that Tannehill has been the linchpin in this offense, and you're going to find out a lot more. He has not played well this year. Quarterback rating-wise, he has not been nearly at the level, completion percentage, all of those little metrics that we grade quarterbacks with. This has been his worst year as the starter in Tennessee, and it will get amplified this week by a very good Rams defense. And that's why I think if you are going to play this side, it's Rams or pass, and the teaser is logically sound, but the total pushes me off of this one.
By the way, the Titans this year are 5-0 against teams that made the playoffs a year ago, and the Rams are 4-0.
That's a good nugget. I like that nugget a lot.
Yeah. It's not my favorite, but I figure I'd throw it out there. I always like getting a response, particularly from the big fella. Jared, you're always so accommodating. You're like, yeah, I like that. Ross, I don't
mind that one. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. That was a smile and a head nod. That's why you got to watch us on YouTube.
So that's the Sunday night game. The Monday night game, Bears and Steelers, and welcome back to the discussion. Pittsburgh Steelers having ripped off 3 wins in a row. Now they get to face a rookie quarterback. And, we always make such a big deal about Bill Belichick facing rookie quarterbacks. I had no idea until I read this that rookie quarterbacks against Mike Tomlin coach Steeler teams are 4-22.
Wow.
4-22. And now Justin Fields comes to town. I don't know. I thought Fields played okay. Continues to get better. He had 103 rushing yards last week. He made a nice touchdown throw to Jesse James, a former Steeler. I don't know, Ross, you giving the Bears any shot on the road in this one, or at least keeping it close?
No, not really. I would lean towards Pittsburgh laying the points. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they just find a way, man. Everybody was willing to say, oh, they're done. They're never done. They're always in it until the end. They always have an above 500 record. They will again this year. They'll win this game. I just don't see how the Bears score a whole lot of points. I mean, Baker Mayfield and the Browns scored 10 at home. How many are Justin Fields and the Bears scoring on the road on Monday night? Not many, dude. Not many. I think this score is like 17-10, 23-13. I like the Steelers. I'd rather lay the points.
Tremendous teaser spot to get Pittsburgh down to a pick'em. Very low total game. Basically a 40 flat I'm seeing across the board here. So that's, 6 points is worth a lot. Against this line. If you were going to pair it with another game, because it's a primetime game, sometimes if I like 2 teasers in primetime, I would roll it over a little bit. Maybe I'll do a Monday night teaser paired with a Thursday night game next week. I don't love teasing standalone games on a Monday because so if I tease something Sunday, I'd have to wait till Monday. So, sometimes, my OCD kind of acts up a little bit. So I'm not playing this, but it is a really good teaser spot for Pittsburgh. And if I start to see some lines next week that I like, say around Sunday night-ish, maybe Monday morning, I would tease Pittsburgh and then with a game the following week and kind of roll it over.
Okay. Speaking of tease, it's teaser time. Teaser time. We got to come up with a jingle or something.
Yeah.
The three of us could pool our money together and we could pay for at least an $8 jingle.
Sure.
I can smell it in the budget. All right, Ross, you hit leadoff for us. What do you got?
I like the Eagles from +2 up to +8 right now. Talked about that earlier. I did like the Packers, but that whole situation's changed, so forget that. I like the Rams down from 7.5 to -1.5. And I like two teams, Miami and Pittsburgh. They're both laying 6.5. I like taking them down to laying 0.5 point. They just need to win the football game. I'd be surprised if the Dolphins lost to the Texans or the Steelers lost to the Bears. So, Eagles, Rams, Dolphins, Steelers. Those are 4 good teaser legs. Do with them what you will, people.
Yeah, that was a lesson for me last week. And I'm still, listen, I know I'm an expert, but I'm still learning every week and I'm trying to improve and polish my approach. Last week, my mistake was using the Bengals as a key teaser and putting them in 2 different teasers. And I had discussions with some bookmakers and some sharp bettors, and there's mixed reaction on whether or not any bet is ever worth 2 units to 1, and how it's really hard to distinguish something being key or double than what another bet is. So I'm going to kind of backtrack my approach a little bit, be a little more conservative this week. Just give you 1 teaser, use my top 2 legs, and put a little more exposure on it instead of, maybe a 1 unit. Usually we do 2 teasers. So I'll do maybe 1.5 unit on this 1 teaser, and we'll spread it out a little bit. Saints and Niners. We gave the handicaps earlier with the Saints. They have to win at home over a Falcons team that looks to be a very mentally soft team, at least. They showed that last week against Carolina. And with San Francisco, you get a team at home that I think the market is really bottomed on them. And you're facing an Arizona team with a lot of uncertainty that's overachieved. And I think there's going to be some regression with the Cardinals in the second half of the year, especially if Kyler Murray isn't healthy. And those 2 games are relatively low totals, in the low to mid 40s, lower for the Saints, slightly higher for the Cardinals. So those are the teaser spots this week. New Orleans, pick them. San Francisco, I got it from 2.5 to 8.5, a little less now, but you can still get 7.5 with the Niners.
Let's kick off the Week 9 slate in Indianapolis tonight. Ross, has the embargo been lifted on the New York Jets?
I am lifting the embargo on the New
Only
York
took 2
Jets,
wins.
and I'm loving every minute of it. You know why? Mike White. More like Mr. Right. I love Mike White. I love when a guy gets his first start and makes the most of it. This guy might be the next Tom Brady. We really don't know at this point. I mean, that's what many people are saying. No, but in all sincerity, I was so happy for him. I was so happy for Mike White and Cooper Rush. These guys have bounced around for years, dude. Like, they finally got a chance to start a game, which is a pretty cool accomplishment. I remember my first start, by the way, against the Colts. And it's just a cool thing like that you can have for the rest of your life. And I like when those guys make the most of it. I actually think he's pretty good. He throws the ball to the running backs, throws the ball to the check down. I'll take the Jets. And a lot of money coming in on the Colts. It's up to 10.5. I'll take the Jets and the 10.5 points. I think Mike White can keep it close. I also think Carson Wentz is usually good for 1 brain fart per game.
2 last week. I hope you had the under.
Several.
I hope you had the over on brain farts for Wentz last week.
This is a tough game to bet because my head says the Colts are significantly better. They're well coached. But I will say this: the thing that the Jets defense does well, stop the run. They really stopped the Bengals running game last week, and CJ Mosley, I think, big reason why, if he's healthy, I think that helps the Jets defense a lot. And what is Indy going to try to do first? That they're going to try to establish the run, and I think the Jets are going to take that away. But what that will open up is who I think has become one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL, Michael Pittman Jr. So I tinkered with maybe laying it with Indy, but the reason that I'm not going to lay it with Indy is because of the short week and just I don't know if they're going to be able to run the ball as effectively. But I think this is a great – I don't bet props very often, and if I do, very small amounts. But I do think this is a really good matchup for Michael Pittman Jr. Yeah, he was targeted 15 times last week. And, if you want to maybe do a parlay with I saw like a same game parlay, 60 yards and a touchdown for Pittman's like almost 2-1. And it's a Thursday night game. Have a little fun. And I think that's the matchup that I could see the Colts exploiting the most. This line's probably about right. Really tough to lay double digits on a short week. But I think Indy's better coached at home on a short week. And I think that the Mike White regression will happen. And that's why I would lean Indy. I'm not betting it. I think the Pittman props are better for me this week.
Mike White, by the way, 405 yards passing. Only one guy since 1950 had a better debut in terms of passing yards. It was
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton's correct.
Wow.
All right,
And
let's
he
follow that
answered
up.
right away.
Hold on, let's follow that up. Mike White had the most passing yards by a Jets quarterback since
Chad Pennington.
Ken O'Brien.
Oh, it's not that long ago. Bite your tongue, Ross Tucker. Geno Smith, good guess, Jack? No?
Vinny Testaverde?
Vinny Testaverde, week 17 of the 2000 season.
I love Vinny, by the way. That was the quarterback that I watched growing up, and I went to the playoff game in '98 when they beat the Jaguars. That was fun. And then they lost. Keith Byers fumbled at the goal line, and my heart was broken as a 12-year-old kid. But yeah, I digress.
Okay. By the way, give me a quick over-under. Mike White, over-under 257.5 passing yards. Ross?
Over. They're
Under.
not going to be able to run it against the Colts. Over.
I don't think they're gonna be able to do anything against the Colts. I mean, I always err on the side of regression, so I would say under.
Okay, let's do our anytime touchdown right now, and this time we are giving away $100 to a lucky Pickswise Twitter follower if one of your connections hits, guys. So this is important, and it has to be on Thursday night. Now, in order to be eligible, all you have to do is retweet and follow us. It's very simple. Hit a couple of buttons. You know, if one of these guys are good, and they were last week, didn't you guys just crush it?
Both of us got one last week. Cobb had two,
Yes.
and you had the first one, I think, Ross. Didn't you? Didn't you have who would you have? Ertz? No,
Nope.
you had someone in that in the.
Oh, you had Chase Edmonds.
Edmonds.
Chase
That's right.
Edmonds.
That's right. Thank you, Jack.
Chase Edmonds.
That's exactly. All right. Jared, give it to us.
Well, Pittman, I think, is the guy. I mean, shop this around FanDuel. I see minus 115, but I saw plus money. Caesars and DraftKings had like plus 110, plus 120. But I think anything around Pick'em is fair value for Pittman. 15 targets last week. I believe he scored twice. I think he's had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So he is the guy right now to be targeted. And I want to give out a Jet player, but I don't know what I'm going to see this week with their offense. So I will give another quarterback. Carson Wentz he's going to have a game. I think he's going to bounce back from the game. There's some embarrassing brain farts. And he's looked good with his legs at some point, in times this year. So I could see a quarterback. We always seem to quarterback Thursday nights. So I'll go Wentz and Pittman as my 2 guys this week.
I'll go with 2 Jets then. And by the way, like if we're trying to give people $100, should I just go with the 2 guys with the 2 best odds? Like what are we doing
Yeah,
here?
that's kind of cheating,
I'm trying to actually give them a pick that I would bet my money on.
Yeah, yes.
So Michael Carter plus 155. Mike White has been throwing the ball a lot to the running backs, a lot. So I like Michael Carter as a player. So you could run one in, it could be a pass in. For a long shot, plus 600. If you want the ultimate long shot, Daniel Brown's on here at plus 2,000. Guy got traded to the Chiefs yesterday. That is a long shot. For to score in tonight's game, that is a long shot. Unless Laurent Duvernay-Tardif takes his spot at plus 2,000.
You almost called it that one time with Dan Arnold in Carolina, though, where he got traded that week and he almost scored. So
yeah, but this guy's not even on the team anymore.
That would be really, really difficult to pull off. Scoring a touchdown on Thursday night when you don't play.
Plus 600. Denzel Mims. Remember Denzel Mims?
Last week in the end zone.
Denzel got the most snaps of any Jets receiver on Sunday. Plus 600. Tonight is your lucky night, Denzel, and mine as well.
Are you sure? You sure he's not plus 600 to be activated? You sure that's it? Because for a while that was the play.
I know, but he had the most snaps last week.
No,
he dropped the touchdown, a really bad one too.
That means he's due, obviously.
That means he's getting targeted in the red zone, which is all you can ask for with these props, I think.
Oh my gosh, guys, this was a lot of fun. I want to remind everybody: continue to download the Pickswise app. Okay, your life is mobile. It's all about mobility. You might be at the kids' games. You might have to go run some errands. You might actually have to work for a living. I don't know what you do, but we want to be with you wherever you go. That means you can get the latest information. You can do whatever you need to do in the NFL, in the college football, in the NBA, in the NHL worlds. We want to help you out. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, on Instagram, our YouTube channel as well. Give us the old thumbs up, subscribe. It doesn't mean you're paying money. It just means you're getting the information. It means you will never miss Ross Tucker taking his shots at Urban Meyer, which was great. By the way, this is the most common Urban Meyer look we see on the sideline. It's this
I'm concerned for his mental health. I really am.
Well, I'm not going to. I will not make fun of anybody's mental health, but I will make fun of his inability to coach his team because that has been a problem this year. That has been a problem. Guys, it's always fun getting together each and every Thursday with you. What do you say we do it again next week?
Sounds
contractually obligated, so I'll be there.
Before we get out of here, Ross, how'd your dentist appointment go last week?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Everything's looking good.
Cavities? Fun fact about me, I've never had a cavity in my life, knock on wood.
And you've never had a cavity in your life?
Never in my life.
Oh, you're not eating enough candy then.
That's bad parenting. You don't eat enough candy.
Oh,
yeah, what's
trust
the matter?
me. I eat plenty of candy.
Did they scrape your teeth with the metal hook? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
That's horrible.
I get tartar buildup in there. They got it like on the inside. They gotta scrape, baby. Scrape it, baby.
Oh, God almighty. Just numb me on that stuff. All right, listen, everybody have a wonderful, wonderful week. For our resident Urban Meyer hater, Ross Tucker, and for Jared Smith, who has never had a cavity, I am Chris Rose. We'll see you next time here on Pickswise Playbook. Now go win some dough.